Hey there, everybody. Thanks for checking in. I'm Dr. Wendy Askew, and I'm here with my friend Danielle Cunningham from the One Beauty Bar.
Hey, everyone.
We're so excited that you joined us. This is the inaugural episode of The Whole Truth, so we appreciate you stopping by, and we've got some exciting stuff to talk about today. Before we get to that, I just wanted to let y'all know who I am and what kind of the mission statement of The Whole Truth is. So I am Dr. Wendy Askew, and I am a board-certified obstetrician and gynecologist, and I've been in private practice for about 20 years. That makes me an expert in the field of women's health, but I'm also board-certified in the field of functional and regenerative medicine, and that broadens my knowledge and my expertise into beyond just women's health. And The Whole Truth is brought about to try and provide answers to questions that I answer every day in my practice. And since it's hard for me to really share everything that I've learned over the past 20 years, one patient at a time, we want to bring in fun guests so that we can answer your questions in an informal setting, give you the education and information that you need if you're suffering from any of these conditions. And so our mission is to educate, entertain, and to empower you to go out and take charge of your health so that you can be your healthiest physically, spiritually, and mentally. So we decided that it would be fun to start off our opening episode talking about some of the very common questions that I get asked all the time about sex and some of the problems that women face and that men experience in their sex lives. And so this is a fun topic always to talk about. What do you think?
And I love it that you have both, for male and female,
Absolutely.
because it's so important, because men, in my opinion, they're not very bright, right? Like they just try to go in there and, I think it's important to kind of touch on what a woman thinks and what really makes a woman get off, which is mostly, I think, mental.
Absolutely. I love that you brought that up because I hadn't really intended to talk about this, but I have this conversation with women all the time with respect to probably their biggest complaint is that they have these mismatched sex drives from their partners. And what they tell me is that this is a problem just based on the research. Up to 65% of women say that their libido decreases at some point in their relationship. And the problem with the men, like you say, is that for men, they're kind of like animals, right? They're like a little bit like dogs. We love them, but everything goes to sex. They're mad, sex. They're happy, sex. They're hungry, sex. They're tired, sex. They're frustrated, sex. And for women, we're not wired that way. So it takes a little bit more to get us there, right? Don't you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And women like flowers and we like to be courted. And I think that now even more so with how society is, everything's revolved around sex. And there's so many people out there that think it's okay just to go home and have sex with somebody after, a date or two. I think that started happening because of Jersey Shore. Remember that
Casual
show?
sex, of course.
The casual sex thing,
yeah.
which I know it's been happening forever, like in the 60s.
Generational, yeah.
Everyone used to have sex, but I really think that it's kind of, for people that do want that relationship, which I think that most women do want that.
A connection, sure.
Yeah, even women that are more promiscuous than others.
Absolutely.
They still want that romance there,
Everybody's different, but I do think people need to feel a connection with each other. And so when women come to me and tell me that they are experiencing that they don't have much of a sex drive, and I always ask them and explore these questions just like you said. Well, the first question for me is, what's your relationship status, and do you like your current partner? Because if that's the issue, then it's a whole new road we go down. Because if they just immediately look at me and start to tear up, then I know we've got another emotional issue that we need to work on, rather than talking about their hormones or their medications or other things.
Do you suggest your patients to go see therapy, like marriage therapy?
Absolutely, and I actually have a list of the marital counselors who I have sent patients to and know personally and feel like are a little bit more, they listen better, they have a better rapport with the patients, because I know a lot of them, and I get some feedback from patients about some that's not that great. So I try to direct them to the people that I know will listen, will kind of be more responsive.
And I think it's so important though, because men, I think that therapy is important in general, just because, one thing could be bothering that person, and all you have to do is talk about it. So it's so important.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yes.
Yes, communication. That's kind of the key piece at the center of any problem, whether it be sex or whatever else, is communicating. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, but it's so funny because even the Google questions that we were talking about earlier, like, the questions that the men asked and the questions that the women asked are two completely different things. The men are like, oh, where's the G-spot?
Right to business.
Right to business.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, I think that the women's questions were more, well, I guess you have the list there. Like, what are the actual, I think one of the questions was
the biggest one is, why do I not have a sex drive? Why can I not have an orgasm during sex? Or should I always have an orgasm during sex? And so I want to talk about that one too in a minute. Is pornography a problem in our relationship? Absolutely, that was another question.
And Pamela Anderson talked about this lately and
Yeah.
was all about how, a lot of people judge her because, she is Pamela Anderson and she's beautiful, but, she had issues with her husband that he was always watching porn. So there was a lot of women that were like, what do you know? You're Pamela Anderson, you're pretty much, considered a sex symbol. And I really think that was really unfair because she obviously had issues that her partner would always watch porn. And porn is very much, again, I think that our society is more going to instant gratification, right? They want that.
Right.
Men don't want to sit there and work on pleasing a woman, work on courting her, work on giving her spa days and all that stuff. They just want to go in there and nut, basically. And I think it's so important to kind of touch on that.
Absolutely. Pornography addiction is a huge problem, and it reflects a bigger problem with the man's mental health and his inability to make a connection with a human being, and that's why they're looking for a non-relationship with a screen. So that's a huge problem. So is porn a problem is the bigger issue, and I'm not going to address the societal issues of pornography, but within the context of a healthy, loving relationship, if y'all enjoy watching pornography together and you find it mutually stimulating, then I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But there has to be the communication and the agreement that I don't feel jealous or threatened or any way harmed or demeaned by the fact that we're doing this act together as part of your relationship together. So I think all these things and the communication is what's key. Just to come back for the patients who are watching who may experience a decrease in their sex drive at various points, if you really do love your sex partner and feel like you have a good relationship with them, but it's changed, I will tell you there are so many things that can impact it. And it's one, obviously, things like stress and feeling overwhelmed and fatigued. All of those things can cause you to have low levels of testosterone. You can burn up your body's natural production of testosterone. And when you run out of testosterone, you can absolutely lose your interest in having sex. And that's something that can be very easily tested for and very safely and easily replaced in a variety of different ways. If you're taking certain medications, antidepressants, certain blood pressure medications, a host of other medications can decrease your sex drive. And some of them can even disrupt your nerve pathways so that you can't have orgasms during sex. So there's a lot of pharmacologic things that can interfere with your libido. Birth control pills are another thing that are notorious for decreasing some women's sex drive. So it's important for your doctor or whoever you're talking to be knowledgeable about these things and ask about them, solicit this information, and then address them, and then figure out alternatives, test appropriately, and then help you with whatever issues can be addressed and corrected to get your sex drive back up where it should be if you do love your partner and want to stay with them and want to have a mutually gratifying sex life. So I think that's an important thing.
What about the women that they have a baby?
Yeah.
And then, then you get in there and it's all stitched up and everything, and then they don't want to have sex anymore because it actually literally hurts them because they're too tight.
This is another one
It's
of the
pretty
biggest.
common.
Super
I have
common.
so many girlfriends that they're like, it's too tight now, I can't have it, and it's horrible. What do you do?
Absolutely.
Just go open it up again?
Oh God, that's last case. Last case. So many other things that can be done. And so right after you have a baby, obviously things don't feel right. The hormones are disrupted. If you're breastfeeding, the first thing I tell patients is when you're breastfeeding after a delivery, especially if you've had a tear and stitches and everything, your hormone levels when you're breastfeeding are suppressed to the point where you're basically like in menopause and your vagina doesn't lubricate, it won't stretch, it won't accommodate, and then you have all the nerve damage and the injury from the tear and the stitches. So I can have the compounding pharmacists prepare creams that they can apply with small amounts of either muscle relaxants, nerve modifying creams, other agents.
I want that for myself, even though I have any issues. Little ecstasy down there.
All kinds of fun
things.
That's
so cool.
Yeah. So with a little bit of time and patience, we can get healing of those tissues that are scarred, constantly sending pain signals, too tight, spasming. We can do more creative things like dilator or stretching therapy, or there's a ton of fun things in the field of vaginal rejuvenation with lasers, with things called O-shots and platelet-rich plasma therapies where we can inject components of people's own blood that will cause scar tissue to break down, remodeling of tissue, can improve the tightness and the elasticity if you've got the opposite problem, like too stretchy, not tight enough afterwards, which is another problem that some women experience. But with respect to the problem of pain, if it's after a delivery from stitches and tearing and obstetrical trauma, we call it, there are things we can do and things that we can have prescribed and made to help them. Thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, no, but that is, it is so funny because sometimes, if you're really into your partner, like to me, if I'm pissed off at my partner, I am like dry. Like I'm super dry that I'm like, ooh, I feel so tight, but I'm pissed off. So it's really not sexual.
Yeah, because I don't want to have sex with you. Yeah, I'm just,
But if you're really into it and you're in love, then it's like, you're like, the fluids are flowing and it feels like you're super loose.
Yes.
So depressing.
Okay, too much laxity. Okay, good. That's a tough problem. Yeah. Excessive lubrication is a tough problem to, I guess, correct or stop. Other than thinking of like taking medications or like antihistamines, things to kind of dry things up.
Or what about squirters? Because I literally did not think that squirting was like real.
It is.
It's very, very real.
Absolutely.
And I found this out later on in age once I really got comfortable with myself. And, it's so funny because I remember I used to see girls on porn. I'm like, that's not true. Girls don't squirt. And it is embarrassing though. Because as a woman, obviously, y'all know I'm a squirter now.
I love it. Danielle is a unicorn. Yeah.
It's embarrassing because like if you're really into it, it's foul. I think it's gross.
You do?
But men love it.
Men love it.
They love it. And I think it's so embarrassing.
Have you researched this? You know that based on the research, only 24 to 36% of women are able to have G-spot orgasms. And this is like the holy grail of sex for women that women are trying to achieve. So I have people come to me like, what can I do? How can I do this? And I'm like, well, we can try this and we can try that and let's do all these things and go through it. A lot of it is psychological. We'll come back and do like a whole episode on the G-spot because that's deep. But
really 30% of women?
30.
That is really, well, and I think that that's why you invited me on the show because I am very
special.
I think that people should talk about sex more. I don't think that people should look at sex in like a negative light. I think that,
sex is great. When it's consensual in a loving context or.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, to me, I'm not able to really get off unless if I really know that that guy is monogamous to me, which I think most women are that way. Yeah. Like most women, guys are like, whatever, I don't care who you're with, but women are not that way.
Not all.
We get to, you go ahead.
Yeah, I said most men, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you're right. No, I'm sorry, go ahead, yeah.
But anyway, so it is so funny. So going back to the Google question.
Yes.
Because this is like where I love how, with you starting your show, I think it's so awesome because no one else is really doing it here in San Antonio.
Not here in town, yeah.
Yes.
Nationally there are.
And I love it though that you're like both male and female and you know both ends and everything.
Absolutely.
So I think that it's so funny though because with the Google saying, so the most common asked questions for male, what is that?
So unfortunately, men I think have a lot of hangups about size. Yeah, about how important is size.
What do you think about that?
So I think most men are average, right? And there are these impressions or notions based on porn and other outliers of people with, foot-long penises, but the average size is 6 inches, and there's small variations in width and girth and length and all these other things. But I think some degree of size matters, but as long as you're within the normal range, most women are happy with men who are average or better, or average to a little bit smaller. I don't think that most women want a 12-inch penis. I will tell you the truth. They do not. It hurts. All right? That's just the fact of it.
I like the average and better.
Yeah, average plus. we want you all to be like a B plus. Yeah.
No, but that was one of the questions. The
Right.
men are like, oh, how do you measure your penis?
Yeah.
That was one of the top Google
They do.
questions.
They sure do. Yeah. I think it's funny that that's where their insecurities, we worry about being fat or about looking old or whatnot, but the men are worried about size. They ask, are there ways that you can increase your penis size? And I'll tell you, like, maybe a little. And that would go back to things like pea shots, stem cell treatments for the penis. And then the one thing that's been looked at and will give a little bit of increased girth and length are penis pumps, right? This is not a fun thing for y'all. Y'all aren't going to enjoy this while it's going on. But after 6 months of pumping your penis 10 minutes a day, you're going to get a little bit increase in size.
How much?
How much pumping?
Well, like how much increase?
Oh, small, half an inch. It's not gonna be. You're not gonna be, Johnny Holmes. It's not
Remember
gonna happen.
Austin Powers?
Yeah,
It's not
Dr.
my
Member.
bag, baby.
Yeah, we're not gonna get that. Yeah, but the good thing is that most women don't want that, right? So if your concern is that like they're not enjoying it, it comes all back to communication, right? And if there really are genuine concerns about like, is it not big enough? Is it not tight enough? Then y'all can come in and we can have a group session talking about the things that we can actually do to improve sensation, improve.
Well, guys, you could do a lot with your fingers as well. Like, so like, I mean, a lot of times people are like so hung up with like the penis size.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me, like, you could do so much more with like toys.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you can't get it hard, please take Viagra. I mean, this is 2018.
Testosterone.
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, yeah.
Seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, I think that women would really, because for me,
Triple mix,
if somebody's
Viagra,
not getting
testosterone.
hard,
we can fix that. If you're not getting hard for the men, that's one of their most Googled questions. When they start to get older or even younger sometimes, this is the important thing. It's the marker for your vascular health through your whole body. And so you should get your testosterone levels checked, check your blood pressure, check for diabetes, all those things. The decreased erections can be the red flag with, remember the canary in the coal mine? That's the warning sign that lets you know that there's some other problem with your health that needs to be addressed. But we can check all those things. We can optimize your glucose control. We can optimize your vascular health and improve the circulation to the penis with Viagra, with triple mix, with safe, natural, or synthetic forms of testosterone to men. We can give you better erections. The pea shots will do that. Stem cell treatments will do that. We have lots of things that can improve firmness and improve small improvements in orgasmic function for men and for women. But it's a marker of the rest of your body's health. So this is a great topic for men. And
go get the pea shot.
Yeah, get it.
There's too much technology out there for you not to have a hard on.
You're gonna love it. I mean, really, it's painless and it's terrific. It's good medicine. And where all it ties in is that looking at your hormone levels isn't just about feeling better. I want y'all to feel better. People come to me because they don't feel good. It helps you be healthier. It improves your brain health, your cardiovascular health, your metabolism. It helps you live longer and live healthier while you do so, while improving your quality of life. And that's what we're all about. We want you to be your healthiest as long as you can. So that point with the men is a great point. Men's sense of self-esteem in the world, I tell people all the time, men feel good about themselves when they have good earning power and when they have plenty of sex. And if you start to interfere with either of those two of their functions, then everything kind of goes downhill from there. And we want them to be happy and satisfied as well as us. But your other point is like women having orgasms, it's only, I think, 30% of women have sex with vaginal intercourse. So we need manual stimulation, we need oral stimulation, we need toys, other things, and that's just anatomy. When y'all are like hitting it front, back, however, we're on top, whatever, you're not always stimulating the clitoris the way it needs to be stimulated for women to have an orgasm. So the women don't need to feel like they're broken or that they're faking it, and the men don't need to feel like they're not doing a good job. We're just wired differently.
That's so true.
Yeah. So we want you all to be creative and have fun while you're having sex.
And I don't, what's up with women that aren't so vocal with what they want during sex?
I think that's kind of sad. Yeah.
It's very, very sad because you're already like, this is like where, again, you need to date a lot before you give it up. Too many women like feel like, oh, I mean, I have women that tell me all the time, like I've gone on trips with guys and they tell me, oh, you've definitely had sex with them. And I'm like, no, it's a first date. Like, you know, if you work a lot, which we both work a lot, you know, unfortunately sometimes those first dates are vacations. And there's so many times I come back and they're like, oh, how was the sex? I'm like, no, we didn't have sex. And they're like, no, you had sex. And I'm like, no, I didn't have sex with them. And so many people, well, because to me, it's like, I'm not going to have sex with you until I feel like it. Like, just because you went and you took me somewhere does not mean I'm going to give it up.
That's exactly right.
And I think more women should be that way because a lot of girlfriends are like, well, didn't you feel obligated? I'm like, well, of course he felt like, he felt like I was obligated to him, but I wasn't because it was a first date.
Empowerment. Good. Yep. You're not a prostitute.
Quit giving it up, ladies.
Absolutely.
Quit giving it up.
You don't owe it. Yeah. It's yours. Hang on to it. Absolutely.
I
love
get
that.
Pussy is power. I want to make a shirt that says that. Pussy is power.
Putting it on a pedestal.
Yes. I love that. But what's up with guys that take that in a negative context? Because a pedestal, men don't like that.
I was just kidding about that from that movie, but yeah. I just think it's important for women to not feel pressure into having sex.
And I think that the men will appreciate it as well, because if you treat a woman with respect and you're a gentleman and stuff like that, you know, or to me, I think that it's less awkward if you're very, very blunt and you're like, look, I don't care about sex. I've had guys that tell me this and they go, if you're into games, because some men, they're into their opinions, they think that if a woman does not put out after the third date, it's games. Which, they're entitled to their opinion. They're just not the right fit for me.
Right, exactly.
Because to me, I want to be able to squirt. And if I'm not mentally connected to you, I'm not going to have the great pleasure with only 30% of women. But it's interesting because I'm always very funny like this, right? And people perceive that I'm promiscuous just because of how outgoing I am and talk about sex. I guess that maybe they don't know.
Repressed.
I never knew that it was that low.
Oh, it's very low.
Well, I knew that most women, you know, they go, oh, I just don't want to have sex. And I go, well, I feel bad for the men that can't get hard, because women, we could lay on our backs and smile and moan. For a man,
you can't fake that.
You can't fake a hard on. Unless if you're smart and you get the P shot.
Yeah.
What is the P shot, anyways? Is it just like
P shots are one utilization of something called platelet-rich plasma. You know about platelet-rich plasma from the aesthetics, right? Platelet-rich plasma is where we take people's blood, you draw blood, centrifuge it, and the blood divides into two components, the red blood cells, and then a yellowish, clear, translucent layer that's called plasma. And in that section of the blood is contained things called cytokines and growth factors that can be injected into various parts of the body that trigger growth of new tissue. That's a regenerative therapy. It's used for orthopedic injuries, to grow new joints, new ligaments. It's used for facial rejuvenation, to give a rosy glow and complexion and to help with wrinkles. It's used sexually for women to give improved elasticity to the vagina and improved orgasmic function injected into the clitoris, all painless. We've got excellent numbing techniques. And for the men, to improve blood supply to the penis, to improve the firmness of their erections, and to improve the quality of their orgasms. So it can be used in the scalp to help grow new hair. There's lots of applications for it, but that's what PRP is in a nutshell.
I love it.
Yeah, it's good. These were just some of the common questions that we get asked, and so we appreciate you tuning in. I think there's always, as you know, enough material and information about sex for its own series. There's plenty of people who do shows just exclusively about sex. So we may be back with more, but we wanted to touch on some of the highlights and the most commonly asked questions that I see in practice and that people look for on the internet. So thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate your time. It's been our pleasure. We hope you'll join us again.